Part 81. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 801. Wen Qiao said calmly while sitting in the car. Lu Yuyu came over and touched her forehead. Sisters, please wake up. Those three teachers are all born in the 1970s and have been in the entertainment industry for at least 15 years before they received this honor. Wen Qiao nodded, I know. Lu Yuyu raised his eyebrows, so your new Troika candidate is Tong Wei, Zhou Tao, Lu Su. Lu Yuyu put her hands on her hips. Why is our Dong Yao excluded? Fang Duo. What can I say if there are no people who complain about me? Wen Qiao pinched her chin. Your Dong Yao will most likely pursue a career in both the entertainment industry and the family business, as well as his career in anatomy and medicine. He will not put all his energy into his acting career. Lu Yuyu snorted softly, the goal you set is too ambitious. It will take at least 2 5-year plans, 10 years, at least 10 years to achieve it. Wen Qiao shrugged, I didn't say it would be done overnight, just take your time. Tong Wei has a role, Zhou Tao and Lu Su are both hanging. One is a great beauty. The roles that great beauties can usually play are limited. She is not convincing as a country woman. The other is an eldest young master. The eldest young master is usually just for fun. I didn't agree with Lu Su joining the company at first. Wen Qiao rubbed her head, would you like to make a bet? Lu Yuyu, no gambling. Lu Yuyu still believes in her Qiao. Wen Qiao will not easily determine the goal. She has done countless homework before making such a decision. As long as she says it out, it means that the goal must be achieved. Achieved through hard work. Wen Qiao designed a software that will automatically calculate her wealth. Now that her top 10 wealth list has been released, the old man must be impressed. She wanted to stand side by side with Fu Nanli at the highest point. In March, the early cherry blossoms at the door were blooming. It was the weekend. Su Yun packed up the house and said, I'm going to visit your grandpa in the countryside today. It's just the right time for an outing. When Chi was still holding his head in a bird's nest, another wasted opportunity for me to sleep in. Su Yun clicked her tongue softly, you need to exercise the most. You sit in front of the computer all day. Yesterday you complained that your shoulders hurt. Can your shoulders stop hurting? When Chi pinched the egg pancake in his hand, I know, I'll just go. After breakfast, Fu Nanli came over. After all, Wen Qiao's family has a large population and cannot fit in one car. Wen Qiao and Wen Mo took Fu Nanli's car, and the other 4 took another car. The 2 cars headed into the countryside. Su Si and Wen Qi were sitting in the back seat and said casually, Fu Nanli looks very idle and runs to our house every now and then. As soon as he mentioned his brother-in-law, Wen Qi couldn't stop talking, brother-in-law is busy. It's not an exaggeration to say that he has everything to do every day. Uncle, think about it. Their Zhonghuan group is such a big company. I heard that they have many projects. You have to go through his hands. He just likes to be with Wen Qiao and not seeing him for a few days is like 3 autumns. Su Si shook his head, what if this goes on? There has been little progress in blood synthesis, and Akiao has such a deep love for this man. If Fu Nanli died in his hands, whether it was to save Akiao or not, Akiao would probably hate him. He will go to the experimental base in 2 days and participate in the 8th experiment himself. The weather warmed up early this year, and peach blossoms and rapeseed flowers were in full bloom along the way. The spring scenery was bright and people felt relaxed. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 802. When we arrived at Grandpa Wen Qiao's house, it was exactly 10 o'clock in the morning. The small village had white walls and black tiles, and was buried in the rapeseed fields. The car was parked on the embankment, and the group walked to the yard of the old man's house. Mr. Su happened to be going out with a bundle of reins in his hand. "Dad, what are you doing?" Su-yoon, still holding the gift in her hand, hurriedly greeted her father. "The nearby horse farm closed down. They all went to buy horses, and I went to get one too." Su-yoon sighed. "Oh, what are you doing with all this excitement? What do you want a horse for? What do you know? Bring the horse back and put it behind the house. You can also do some farm work and use it as a donkey." "How much farm work do you still have to do?" The old man insisted on going to the race course regardless. Wen Qiao opened his mouth and said, "I'll go with Grandpa." "Mom, you can just stay here." The three Wen Qiao siblings and Fu Nanli walked with the old man for 20 minutes to a nearby race course. When they arrived at the stables, they were all picked. Wen Qiao took a look at a big brown horse in the corner. It was thin and its coat was not shiny, but its hind legs looked strong. If it were a race horse, it should run very well. "Quick!" Wen Qiao pointed to the horse. "Grandpa, we want that one." Mr. Su shook his head and said, "How thin have you become? Let's not just choose a sweaty horse, at least I can be a donkey, so I have to be solid." Wen Qiao insisted, "Just buy that one." Mr. Su had already chosen the stocky little black horse next to him. "This one is good. It's like a donkey. It can be used for grinding when turned around." "Wen Qi, Grandpa, you don't even grind at home. I will buy a stone grinder when I buy this horse. The tofu I grind myself is the most delicious, and I can often send some to you." Wen Qiao said to the racecourse manager, "My grandpa will buy the one and I will buy the brown one. I will pay for both." Just as Fu Nanli was about to raise his hand to take out the card, Wen Qiao held his hand and said, "I'll do it myself." He told his grandfather that he would be in the top 10 of the wealth list by himself. Now, even if it is a horse, Fu Nanli will not let him pay for it. This is called completely relying on himself. Wen Qiao paid the money and bought 2 horses. Wen Qiao named his horse God of War. Grandpa looked disgusted. "What kind of God of War is not the God of War? Do you want to take him to fight? Now is not the era of cold weapons. Even if you fight, you don't need a horse. My name is Xiao He. Look, how strong and beautiful he is. The key is to be able to use it." The God of War seemed to feel that he was despised and was a little autistic. Wen Qiao touched its back. It was so skinny and painful. "Grandpa, I'll give you a task. In 2 months, make my God of War fat." Grandpa led 2 horses and the group drove back. Fu Nanli asked her, "What did you buy this horse for?" Wen Qiao swiped his phone. "There will be a horse racing competition in Macau in May. I will use the God of War to go to the horse racing competition." Fu Nanli thought, this girl's eyes are full of business opportunities. Fu Nanli also has his own racecourse with many purebred horses. He does not let his horses participate in horse racing, but he definitely has a deep knowledge of horses. The God of War that Wen Qiao picked looked thin, but it was a purebred hot-blooded horse. Compared with cold-blooded horses and mixed-blood horses, this kind of horse was suitable for racing. He thought that the child fell in love with a horse on a whim, but he did not expect that she had her own concerns and considerations in everything she did. Keep this war horse strong enough to participate in horse racing. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me. The boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 803. Moreover, what he didn't tell Wen Qiao was that in addition to his hobby of golf, his grandfather also liked horse racing. Qiao had no idea about this, but he accidentally ran into him. He always felt that his grandfather, who now regarded Qiao as a scourge, would be defeated by the true fragrance theorem in the future. Mr. Su snorted lightly, "You, the god of war, are the only ones left in this race course. Chiao, why don't you, the god of war, gain weight and work hard with my little black guy?" Wen Chiao chuckled, "No, my god of war will not take your job from Xiao He. I will give you the recipe when the time comes. The god of war cannot eat casually." The old man sneered lightly and muttered, "The little girl has nothing to spend her money on, so she spends all her time extravagantly." Wen Qiao didn't take her grandfather's talk seriously. She is now focused on making more money and climbing the wealth list. She first sets a small goal to be among the top 10,000. Haiken's costume film and television city is located in the far south, close to neighboring provinces. It's late in spring and the temperature is very low. At 8 o'clock in the evening, it's only 4 or 5 degrees Celsius. Zhou Tao had to film a kissing scene, which was difficult to film because it had to be filmed in the rain. The assistant helped wrap Zhou Tao's body in plastic wrap, but she still felt a little distressed. "I'll try to get one later. I'm ready with ginger tea towels and so on, but don't get sick. Actors can't afford to get sick." "Zhou Tao, I'll try to get through. Wrap it in plastic wrap, put on the costume, and then wait for the venue attendant to lay the track, and the microphone, camera, and lighting are all in place." Lu Wenzhou didn't know why he came here. He came here to discuss a project. When he was approaching the film and television city, Wang Hui mentioned that Miss Zhou was filming inside. He appeared outside the set by accident. Lu Wenzhou's car was parked not far from the set and he saw them adjusting the sprinkler truck for artificial rainfall. Wang Hui, the co-pilot, rubbed his hands and took out his mobile phone. "The temperature is only 4 degrees now, and you have to get wet in the rain. It must be very cold. Filming is really hard. 2 days ago it looked like spring was blooming, but today the weather was foggy again this late in the evening. In early spring, there are also changes in temperature. Over there, Zhou Tao and Junling have already played the role. Junling plays the role of the little prince in the heaven. He is cynical in the early stage. In the later stage, after the heroine blocks the palm of the demon king for him, his 3 souls and 6 souls are pieced together by her master to become another person. This is the second life of the heroine. What we are going to shoot today is that the little prince realized that the heroine in his second life was the woman he liked, so he forcefully kissed her at the foot of the mountain." Junling's cousin Huang Xian whispered, "Brother, in the kissing scene, you have to be steady and don't show any emotion in the kiss." Junling chuckled softly, "Put your heart in your stomach. Your brother and I have done a lot of kissing scenes while filming. There is also a collection of my kissing scenes online. They say I am the best kissing actor. Have you seen it? Has your brother ever been tempted? This host is different from the female stars you have worked with before." Junling casually glanced at the person not far away, straightened his long hair and crown. "What's different? This lady is beautiful. Even in the entertainment industry where beauties gather, she is still very beautiful. She is so beautiful." Junling chuckled softly, "Okay, I'm going to start shooting. Get the hot milk tea and big blanket ready. Let's see how I win the heart of this beauty." The director said action and the two started filming. Xiao Xianyi didn't like this inexplicable man. The prince grabbed Xiao Xianyi's wrist under a peach tree. Lu Wenzhou wasn't too far away, but with the big lights on the set, he was hidden in the darkness. Zhou Tao didn't even notice that her ex-husband was also there. This scene was a bit dazzling, and Lu Wenzhou gritted his teeth. "Why did you have to ask me to come over?" Wang Hui chuckled, "I have never seen celebrities filming movies. Second master, have you seen them?" Lu Wenzhou hasn't seen it either. What was even more dazzling than the handle was that in the next second, Junling pressed the person against the tree, and the water from the crane sprayed down. On a rainy night, under the peach blossom tree, the situation was romantic and beautiful. Then, They saw Junling bending his head and kissing Zhou Tao. The veins on Lu Wenzhou's forehead throbbed violently. Let me ask, does everyone dislike Lu Er? If no one speaks for Lu Er, I can freely torture him. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 804. The water mist fell, and the peach blossoms followed the artificial rainwater and fell on Zhou Tao's eyelashes. Zhou Tao stared angrily and sobbed in her throat. She blinked lightly, and the peach blossom petals covered her eyes, making her eyes sparkle even more than the peach blossoms. Junling's hand was clasped on the back of her head, and for some reason, his heart jumped suddenly. His eyes were full of tenderness and affection, and he looked at the struggling person in front of him for a moment. This deep affection fell into the director's monitor, and the director applauded and whispered to the assistant director. The two of them performed well, especially Junling. He performed this lost and recovered affection. Another person who said that the acting was good was Lu Wenzhou's bodyguard Wang Hui. I feel that the acting was very good and very affectionate. Then he saw his second master's face looking even worse in the rearview mirror. Lu Wenzhou lit a cigarette and said in a deep voice, "Let's go." The sprinkler truck stopped over there, and a group of people rushed forward. Junling could be seen wrapping Zhou Tao in a big towel, and Zhou Tao could also be seen smiling and talking to Junling, probably saying thank you. Lu Wenzhou's voice was as cold as ice, "Drive faster." Out of sight and out of mind, he didn't even know why he came here today. On the set, Junling wiped Zhou Tao's face with a big towel. There were some scattered peach blossom petals on the top of her hair, and there were wet peach blossoms on her temples. With the peach blossoms between her eyebrows, the whole person really looked like a peach forest. The seductive female temptress comes out of the house. The director ran over and said, "Today's scene went very well. Thank you for your hard work. Today's shooting ends here. You guys go change clothes and drink something hot. You have worked hard." The staff began to pack up the set props. Zhou Tao's assistant Xiao Ai quickly took her to the nanny car. After getting in the car, he quickly took off his hair cover and changed his clothes. Although he was wrapped in plastic wrap, cold water still seeped in. Zhou Tao's face turned purple from the cold and she sneezed several times. The air conditioning temperature in the car was set to the highest level. Xiao Ai stuffed a hot water bottle into her arms and handed her the ginger tea. "Drink some to warm yourself up." There was a knock on the door, and Xiao Ai opened the door of the nanny car and saw that Junling had changed into her own clothes and was holding a bag of milk tea in her hand. "Hot milk tea, give it to Zhou Tao." Zhou Tao walked to the door and looked at him with a smile, "Thank you." Junling shrugged, "I won't disturb you anymore." With just the right amount of warmth and thoughtfulness, Junling can be said to be a popular lover in the entertainment industry. Many female stars who have worked with him have pursued him. After the car door closed, Xiao Ai looked at Zhou Tao ambiguously, "Does Junling want to chase you?" Zhou Tao took a sip of hot milk tea and said casually, "Don't talk nonsense. He is just kind and considerate. He is a good person. I think he is a good candidate. He is tall and handsome. There are no messy scandals in the industry. I heard that he worked with Tang Jin on the last film. Tang Jin wanted to chase him. He knocked on the door of the Junling Hotel in the middle of the night. Junling didn't open the door for her, but it spread all over the circle. I think Junling is still very upright." Zhou Tao rubbed her head, "He is very nice, but I don't have feelings for him. I just want to work hard now and don't want to fall in love." Xiao Ai seemed to feel a little pity. "Okay." There were staff members stopping outside the nanny car, and there was chatter. "I seem to have seen Mr. Lu just now." "Second Master Lu?" "Which second Master Lu?" "The one from Beijing, Lu Su's second brother, Lu Wenzhou, do you know?" Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 805. I know, why does Mr. Lu appear here? Maybe there is some cooperation. They have the largest theater market in the country, and they are also considered to be the boss behind the scenes in the entertainment industry. Hey, I heard that many big names in the industry want to hire Zhou Tao. Isn't it possible that they are also attracted by the reputation? Hey, you're crazy, stop talking. As if they realized that the nanny car behind them was Zhou Tao's, the sound disappeared immediately. Zhou Tao lowered his eyes, smiled and shook his head. Xiaoai didn't know the past of Zhou Tao and Lu Wenzhou, nor did she know that they had a marriage history that seemed to be in harmony but not in harmony. She whispered, Daisy, don't listen to their nonsense. All the female celebrities in the circle are eager for others to follow them. You don't need to pay attention to these unsavory rumors. I know. On the way back, Lu Wenzhou called his friend, introduce me to my girlfriend. He now desperately needs to get out of his last marriage, and he needs a relationship to distract him. Lu Wenzhou's friend is a well-known playboy in Heikan celebrity circles. It is a strange thing that these two people with completely different personalities can hang out together. What kind of person does Mr. Lu like? The conditions must be listed so that I can introduce it to you. You don't have to be too beautiful, just be gentle and intellectual. He doesn't like women who are too beautiful, and Zhou Tao is the worst. He has to find a woman who is completely different from Zhou Tao. Okay, I have a friend's sister who is a college music teacher. She is absolutely gentle and intellectual. Can you arrange to meet her when you have time? Good. After hanging up the phone, he stretched out his hand and tugged on his tie, saying in an unhappy voice, the heating is turned on too much. The driver said cautiously, Second master, I didn't turn on the heating. Lu Wenzhou's expression became even gloomier, and Wang Hui quickly said, I'll open the window for you to get some air. After a spring rain, the sycamore trees on both sides of the streets in Heikan began to sprout new buds, and the willow leaves by the shallow lake also turned green. In the organic farm behind the Fu family's mansion, Wen Qiao was taking root and weeding. She asked Uncle Li to bring her here. Because it is an organic farm, no chemical fertilizers are used. The farm employs many people to weed regularly. Wen Qiao mingled with the weeding army, sweat dripping from his forehead. Uncle Li handed over a glass of water. Xiao Wen, you have been working all morning, take a rest. He really changed his mind about this little Wen. When she came to work, she didn't just pretend to be a fake person, pull out a few straws and take a picture or call the old man to come over and witness her working grace and then give up. She came to work in real ways. When working, my hands are covered with grass juice, and my face is covered with sweat and some dirt. It looks dirty, but also a little cute. Uncle Li thought, this little girl is really interesting. It's a pity that the old man is so disgusted with her. Wen Qiao wiped his sweat without raising his head, wait until I pull out all the grass along the way. Uncle Li followed her, if the young master knows that you are pulling weeds here, you will definitely tell me. Wen Qiao stretched his muscles and said, I'm fine these 2 days. I'll come back tomorrow. Uncle Li had a headache, little ancestor, please don't come. I will definitely convey your kindness to the old man. Wen Qiao smiled, if you convey this, the old man will definitely think that I am putting on a show, and he will even scold me. A voice came from behind, where is Wen Qiao? Uncle Li's heart sank. The eldest young master came and saw his little girl squatting and pulling weeds out of broad beans, and she did this. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 806. Forget it, he just wants to be happy. Fu Nanli stepped on the dirt and walked over. He saw Wen Qiao wearing a knitted straw hat on her head. The spring sunshine dappled her face through the straw hat. She was holding a handful of grass in her hand, her face it was still dirty, like a little tabby cat, and now she was looking at him with a smile. "Uncle Li, did you bring her to pull weeds?" Uncle Li was anxious. "Hey, master, it was Xiao Wen who insisted on coming here to do the work." Wen Qiao wiped his sweat again, and his face became even more discolored. "Don't blame Uncle Li, it's true that I came here to do the work myself." Fu Nanli bent down and took her hand. "Okay, I've been working for a long time, you can rest now." After saying that, he grabbed the weed in her hand, threw it aside, and stretched out his hand again. Uncle Li quickly handed over the handkerchief. Fu Nanli wiped her face for her, but where was it clean? The dirt and grass stains had dried on her face, and her face was red from rubbing and still dirty. Fu Nanli threw the handkerchief into Qin Bei's hand and pulled Wen Qiao out. The ground was wet, and it was the first time in Mr. Fu's life that his leather shoes had so much mud on them. There was a small sightseeing car parked next to the organic farm. Wen Qiao was pulled onto the small sightseeing car, and the driver drove towards the mansion. Fu Nanli took a bottle of mineral water, unscrewed it and handed it to Wen Qiao. Wen Qiao took the water bottle and drank a few big gulps. He drank too quickly and the water leaked from the corner of her mouth into her neck. Fu Nanli stretched out his hand to wipe it for her, which made his eyes darken. Wen Qiao wiped his mouth and handed him the water bottle. Fu Nanli sighed softly, "There is no need to do this." Although it was only March, it was approaching noon and the sun was shining brightly. She didn't even wear any gloves, and her hands were red when pulling weeds. Wen Qiao took a breath and said, "Farm work is very interesting. I learned a lot from the uncles and aunts who worked together." She took off the straw hat on her head and stuck a few grass in her hair. Fu Nanli reached out to help her remove the grass, but there was nothing he could do to her. The sightseeing bus passed the organic farm and past the golf course. You could vaguely see the old man playing a golf ball on the golf course. He called Uncle Li and said, "Let's talk to the old man about Qiao's work in detail." "Understood, master." The sightseeing bus passed the golf course and reached the shallow lake, and finally arrived at the villa halfway up the mountain. Wen Qiao also really realized that the Fu family was really big. When they arrived at the mansion, Fu Nanli took her to his bedroom. This is Wen Qiao's first time to go back to the bedroom of his main house. His first impression is that it is big. His bedroom is a suite, a master bedroom and an outer hall, as well as a small activity room and a separate cloakroom. His bedroom alone was much larger than her courtyard house. After all, poverty limited her imagination. No wonder the number of 60 million people can only be ranked to 80,000 or 90,000. The second impression was that the decoration style won her heart. It was Nordic style and low-key luxury, which was in line with his young master's style. She was pulled to the bathroom by the man. The entire floor-to-ceiling window was half covered with blinds, and the sunlight was mostly reduced. Wen Qiao was pressed on the sink, and the man turned on the faucet, and his tall body hugged her from behind. The hand sanitizer was squeezed onto her hands. Fu Nanli hugged her and gently rubbed her hands. He breathed slowly on the skin behind her ears. Wen Qiao looked back at him. "I'll do it myself. Do not move." Wen Qiao stopped moving, letting his long and well-jointed fingers move slowly between her thin white fingers. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 807. Grass stains and soil fell into the porcelain white pool with the tap water, and her hands became white and clean again. He was meticulous and patient, not even sparing her fingernails, just like picking up his daughter from kindergarten and washing her hands before eating. When the eldest young master has a daughter, he will definitely be a gentle and patient father. After washing her hands, Fu Nanli picked up a towel from a small tray and wiped her hands. When Xiao looked at his hands, it's really clean, it's almost done. Then she saw Fu Nanli soaking some warm water with a towel and wiping her face. Look at your own face. When Xiao glanced at the mirror from the corner of his eye, you can't do farm work cleanly. This is normal. Fu Nanli flicked her forehead, don't come to work in the future. The Fu family doesn't want you as a worker. When Xiao raised his eyebrows, I have to come. Fu Nanli narrowed his eyes slightly, so disobedient. When Xiao shrugged, just treat it as exercise. In fact, she really didn't do it for the old man. The old man was so stubborn and disliked her so much. She would not use this method to please him. She made it for the Fu family except the old man. At least others can see that she is willing to do anything for Fu Nanli. The people she wanted to please were Fu Nanli and his mother. She only shows kindness to those who are kind to her. In other words, she has sweated and worked hard on this farm, and she hopes that when the old man eats the fruits of her labor in the future, he will have a bit of gratitude like eating people with soft lips. Fu Huayong said that Wen Xiao was a fox, and sometimes he was right. She went to the Fu family to work in a big way. From Yamingkaiu to Fu Nanli, and to every servant in the Fu family's mansion, every servant said that Miss Wen was kind, amiable, unpretentious, and very down-to-earth. Even though he didn't say it openly, he was slandering in his heart. The old man was indeed harsh to the little girl. On the golf course, the old man swung a club, and the little white ball flew far away. The caddy waved the little white flag, and the old man raised his hand. Uncle Li came over to take the club from him, and handed the old man a towel to wipe his sweat. The old man wiped his sweat and the white sightseeing car stopped in front of the pergola. Uncle Li helped the old man get on the car and sat behind him. The sightseeing bus headed to the mansion. Uncle Li laughed and said, I just went to look around the organic farm. Guess what? The old man held the thermos cup and took 2 sips of the wolfberry fatsi, showing no expression. Xiao Wen worked there for a long time and came to pull weeds at 7 o'clock in the morning. The old man sneered slightly, what do you want to say? Uncle Li, that kid works very quickly. He doesn't show off at all. He is very calm when he sees bugs and other things. He can pull weeds very quickly. He is no slower than the workers we hired. The old man frowned and closed the lid of the thermos cup. I just want to show off and show it to me. She's quite good at putting on a show. Do you really think she's here to work? This girl is very smart. No wonder she can beat us. Nan Li is eating to death. Uncle Li was a little helpless and said, Old man, do you know about our shopping festival last year? How? At that time, a hacker attacked the entire network and paralyzed it. Do you know who finally fought off the hacker and repaired our server? The old man was obviously a little disdainful. What? Who is it? It's also Xiao Wen. The old man turned his head and glanced at Uncle Li. Did Nan Li teach you to say that? Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 808. It was indeed Fu Nanli who told Uncle Li to reveal the information to the old man step by step, but it didn't work out. The old man didn't believe it. This is true. The little girl also won the championship of the College Student Computer League. She is really accomplished in this computer field. If it hadn't been for Xiao Wen that time, our Fu family would have suffered heavy losses. The little girl. The old man's eyes were gloomy, and Uncle Li didn't dare to say any more. He was still a little anxious. Were you also deceived by that girl? Uncle Li quickly said, how could it be? Tell the truth, old man, if you don't believe it, these are all proven things, I don't dare to talk nonsense. Enough. Uncle Li immediately fell silent. Fu Huayong, do you know how many old guys on the board of directors are eyeing Nan Li? That girl is a weakness. If she stays with Nan Li, she can easily be taken advantage of by those old guys. Uncle Lee forced a smile. Yes, you are right. What I was thinking was that Xiao Wen looked smart, and the old guys on the board of directors might not be her match. I thought again, the old man is really inconsistent. He said before that Xiao Wen was with the young master for money, but now he wants to use money to thank him for his contribution to the Fu family. If Xiao Wen doesn't accept the old man's financial gratitude, doesn't it mean that she doesn't have any money at all? Isn't it about money? Forget it, the old man is trying to get into trouble, and he, the butler, can't force him to change his mind. In the bathroom, Fu Nanli held Wen Qiao's chin with his thumb and index finger, looked around to make sure there were no grass stains or dirt on his face, and then dropped the towel in his hand. He picked up the men's skincare cream he usually used, squeezed a little into his palms, rubbed it gently until his palms became a little warm, and then applied it on Wen Qiao's face. It has a very refreshing smell, with a hint of mint, and the fragrance of the grass outside the window mixes in the nose, making Wen Qiao feel relaxed and happy. So you also use skincare products? I've gained some experience. Fu Nanli chuckled. What? Can't men use it? Wen Qiao blew a few rainbow farts. I always thought you were born with such good skin. The young master was delighted by her flattery. How is my skin? Okay, clean and refreshing, neither black nor white, with a bit of wheat color, very masculine. All the words that Lu Yuyu discussed with her were used by her to compliment Fu Nanli. Lu Yuyu said that the young master would be happy with such compliments. Sure enough, the man's lips curled up with a smile. Well, you have good taste and taste. Wen Qiao suddenly realized that such a compliment would make a man happy. Understood. Wen Qiofo said to his heart, if I didn't have good taste, I wouldn't like you. Fu Nanli smiled secretly, and pulled her down from the sink. Okay, let's go downstairs for lunch. When the servants saw the eldest young master coming out of the room, many people were stunned by his smiling face. I have never seen the young master show such a carefree smile in this mansion. This Miss Wen is really a capable person. The servants could see it clearly, but Fu Huaiyang was very paranoid. I just feel that Wen Qiao is relying on sweet words and tricks to coax his grandson. During the meal, he didn't show any good looks to her. Wen Qiao regarded him as nothing, and occasionally said a few words to Fu Nanli and Ye Mingkaiu, without any intention of being restrained or looking at others. Ye Mingkaiu looked at the pale face of her father-in-law, and felt secretly happy in her heart. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 809. The little girl is very powerful. She can trick her scheming son, and she is not afraid of her father-in-law's disdainful eyes. She remains motionless. This little girl has a very strong psychology. After the meal was finished, everyone enjoyed it, but Fu Huaiyang felt a sigh of relief in his heart and slammed his chopsticks on the table after taking 2 bites. You don't have to do farm work anymore, you don't have to be so pretentious. Wen Qiao looked at him sincerely. I'm not hypocritical. Uncle Lee also saw it. I've been working all morning, and I worked very seriously. I didn't even have time to drink saliva, and my lips were peeled. Fu Huaiyang pointed at Wen Qiao and looked at Fu Nanli. Did you hear that? She didn't do much work, so she was eager to take credit for fear that others wouldn't know that she had done the work. Fu Nanli forced a smile. She did her job, why can't she talk about it? In this era, it is not fashionable to do good deeds without leaving a name. The old man picked up a handkerchief and wiped his mouth, then threw it on the table and left the dining room angrily. Ye Mingkai waved to Aunt Rong. I'll bring some food to the old man's room later and let him eat it. I know, ma'am. Fu Nanli pushed the honey lemon water towards Wen Qiao's hand. If your mouth is peeling, drink more water. Wen Qiao didn't feel anything embarrassed, so he picked up the water glass and took a few sips. Don't come to work tomorrow. The old man won't accept your kindness and treat you differently. Even though he was working so hard, he was the only one who felt sad. Wen Qiao shook his head. I'm going to pollinate some peach blossoms tomorrow. I heard that we got some bees here. I promised the team leader at the farm that I'll come over to help tomorrow. Fu Nanli. Yemingkaiu. Do you need pollination? And bees? Yemingkaiu has never been to his own farm, so it sounds very strange. Well, your farm is very big and has all kinds of vegetables and fruits. The next day, Qiu Ya didn't know where she got the news. When Wen Qiao arrived at the farm, she also came. To say that Miss Qiu is indeed smarter than the average rich girl, at least she did not come to the field wearing high heels and a Chanel suit. She was dressed quite down to earth, with jeans and sneakers, and she looked like she was going to work. Appearance. Qiu Ya glanced at Wen Qiao, who got off the sightseeing car, her smile a little unbearable. This girl can actually think of using this method to please the old man. She is a strong opponent. Fortunately, the old man was not fooled by her pretentious sugar-coated bullets. She called the old man last night, and he told her about the matter. So early this morning, she also came over. Isn't it just farm work? If Wen Qiao can do it, Qiu Ya can do it too. Wen Qiao put on protective clothing and a beekeeper's hat. The white gauze curtain hung around the brim of the hat, which looked a bit chivalrous. Fu Nanli hurried over and looked at Wen Qiao's dress with a headache. Do you really want to pollinate yourself? Wen Qiao adjusted the brim of his hat. Do you think I'm lying? Qiu Ya also put on her hat, feeling a little disappointed. After Fu Nanli came over, her eyes were always on Wen Qiao, and she didn't even say hello to her. Fu Nanli reached out to Wen Qiao's chin to unbuckle her rope, in case she gets stung by a bee. No, look at me, I'm so neatly dressed and well protected. This kind of domestic bee won't sting anyone easily. Fu Nanli held his forehead. He was ignoring the contract worth tens of millions per minute and came to the field to help her pull weeds and pollinate them. If you tell me, which employee at Zhonghuan would dare to believe it? Please look at the comment section and pin it to the top. There is a little tree that is doing business conscientiously and begs for your love. Guess who got stung by the bee in the end? Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me. The boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 810. Uncle Li, give me a hat. Uncle Li opened his mouth. Ah. Master, do you also want to do farm work? This young man from a wealthy family really has no fingers on the earth. Counting today, this is only the second time that his feet have touched the soil. He doesn't know if he can recognize more than one hand of the vegetables in the field. The numbers come. Fu Nanli also wore the same beekeeper hat. The farm worker next to Uncle Li sighed. When we put these hats on our heads, we look like we are working. On those two heads, we look like they are models. They look really good. Wen Qiao took Fu Nanli to the beehive nearby, picked up a piece of honeycomb, and Fu Nanli took it over. I'll come, you follow. Turning around, Wen Qiao took another honeycomb and followed him toward Dalin. Go. The eldest young master's face turned dark, and he was worried about the girl. He still had to have a good talk with her when he went back at night. Wen Qiao and Fu Nanli were walking through the peach forest. The young man who once talked about the leveraged economy of the stock market but kept quiet about the Nasdaq and the Federal Reserve is now seriously analyzing with Wen Qiao whether artificial pollination of this peach blossom can be successful. Qiu Ya was left aside. She was a little resentful. Her hands were used to play the violin, and the insurance was 10 million, but now she had to do such heavy farm work. Bees were buzzing and flying in front of her eyes. She was also very scared. The ground was watered. The water was so muddy that she almost fell down when it was deep or shallow. Looking up again, she saw Fu Nanli and Wen Qiao whispering to each other and laughing happily in the small peach forest with bright spring scenery, which made her feel even more resentful. Uncle Li noticed the efficiency of Wen Qiao and Qiu Yat. Xiao Wen worked quickly, so quickly that the young master felt distressed. From time to time, he asked her to take a break and drink water. She didn't pretend to be pretentious and just said rest after you're done. As for Miss Qiu, although she looks like she wants to work seriously, her efficiency is not 1/10 that of Xiao Wen. She is also afraid of everything, including bugs and bees, which is really difficult for her. On the last trip, Wen Qiao took another board of bees to the deepest peach forest. She had been working for nearly 3 hours. Even Fu Nanli was a little restless. Not to mention Miss Qiu Ya, whose face behind the veil was a bit ugly. She said softly in her heart, in order to please the old man, this Wen Qiao is really willing to go out of his way. There was no way, she couldn't lose. She also picked up a plate of beeswax, which was full of bees, and walked to a field ridge. Because she was too tired, her feet gave way and fell directly to the ground. The hat on her head also flipped over to the ground, and the bees in her hands, as if frightened, a swarm of swarms flew towards her. The screams reached Wen Qiao's ears. She was startled. When she looked back, she saw several farmers approaching Qiu Yat. She quickly put down the beehive in her hand, took Fu Nanli's hand and ran over there. The screams were endless. The team leader of the farm quickly picked up a pole and swung the bees away from Qiu Ya's face and body. Seeing Qiu Ya's miserable condition, Fu Nanli stretched out his hand to tighten the gauze around Wen Qiao's hat. After a while, the bees on Qiu Ya's face dispersed. The team leader took off his hat and put it on Qiu Ya, put it on quickly. Wen Qiao wanted to see it, but it was really terrible. Qiu Ya's face was swollen due to bee stings. Qiu Ya was dragged to her feet by the team leader in embarrassment. The physiological pain made her unable to stop her tears. The team leader said anxiously, "Try not to cry. There is a certain amount of salt in the tears. The wound will be more painful."